Today, we're diving into a plan that is just massive. It's an engineering dream meant to solve a problem in one of the most critical and dangerous shipping lanes on the entire planet.
But first, just imagine this for a second. What if you woke up tomorrow and that single narrow stretch of water, the main artery for the world's entire energy supply, was just gone, cut off? The fallout would be instant, and trust me, it would be felt everywhere. So, that incredibly fragile artery, it's called the Strait of Hormuz. And to really get why this crazy engineering plan even exists, we have to understand just how much our world depends on it every single day.
The amount of oil moving through here is just staggering. Every single day, about a fifth of the world's oil, that's over 20 million barrels, sails through this one tiny choke point. To give you a mental picture, that's like filling up more than 1,300 Olympic swimming pools with oil. And that's just one day's traffic. And here's the thing, this critical route is unbelievably narrow. At its tightest point, the Strait of Hormuz shrinks down to just 21 miles wide. That's it. That's the tiny gap separating Iran from Oman's Musandam Peninsula. But wait, it gets even crazier. Those giant supertankers, they can't just use the full 21 miles. Nope. They are stuck in these designated shipping lanes that are only 2 miles wide in each direction. It's like a carefully choreographed, high-stakes ballet for some of the biggest ships on Earth. So you can probably guess what happens when tensions flare up in this region, which, let's be honest, is pretty often. The effects ripple out instantly. You've got warships patrolling, insurance costs for those tankers go through the roof, and all that instability, well, it hits you and me directly with higher prices at the pump and more expensive goods, no matter if you're in New York or Tokyo.
Okay, so this constant threat of disruption makes a lot of powerful people really nervous, and it's led them to ask a pretty fascinating question. What if you could just go around it?
And that brings us to this truly audacious idea. I mean, look at a map, and it seems almost obvious, right? Why not just cut a massive canal straight through that little piece of land, Oman's Musandam Peninsula? Ships could just sail right from the Persian Gulf into the open ocean, totally bypassing the choke point, problem solved. It really does look like the perfect solution. A clean, simple way to literally redraw the map and get rid of one of the world's biggest risks. The only problem is, the world isn't a flat map. And this is where that brilliant idea smacks right into a very, very big reality. A geological challenge so huge, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. So on the left, you see the plan. Simple, elegant. But on the right, that's the truth. The Musandam Peninsula isn't some flat, sandy desert. Oh no, it's the Hajar Mountains, an actual fortress of jagged limestone peaks that rise straight out of the sea. And we are not talking about small hills here. Some of these mountains soar to over 2,000 meters. That's over 6,500 feet above sea level. So building a canal here isn't about dredging some mud. It's about carving a path through an entire mountain range. And that's the real kicker. We're talking about an excavation project on a scale that's just mind-boggling. Millions and millions of tons of solid rock would have to be blasted, shattered, and then hauled away just to make a channel big enough for one of today's supertankers. And the cost? Oh, the cost. Estimates float around in the hundreds of billions of dollars. To put that into perspective, that massive expansion of the Panama Canal, that cost about $5 billion. A Musandam Canal would make that look like pocket change. It's just on another level entirely. But let's just pretend for a second. Let's say you had unlimited money and the best technology on Earth. The engineering part still isn't the biggest problem. The politics might be even harder to move than the mountains themselves. Yeah, the biggest obstacle is actually pretty simple. It's not our land. It belongs to Oman. And Oman has absolutely no official plans or, frankly, any desire to build a giant canal there. Their focus is on things like tourism and local infrastructure, not on slicing their mountains in half. You see, a project this huge could never be done by just one country. It would need a level of international cooperation we've probably never seen before. You'd need all the regional powers to agree, global investors to pony up the cash, and long-term security guarantees to protect it. And right now, none of that is on the table. So, fine, let's say you somehow solve the mountain problem and the political problem. You spend the hundreds of billions, you get everyone to agree, and you actually build the canal. You've solved the problem, right? Well, not exactly. There's one last stubborn reality you have to face.
Because what you've really done is just traded one choke point for another. You've simply swapped a natural bottleneck for an artificial one. The core vulnerability, it hasn't gone away. It's just moved a few dozen miles down the coast.
And here's why that matters. A man-made canal is just as vulnerable, maybe even more so. Remember what happened in the Suez Canal? One grounded tanker could block it for weeks. A targeted attack or even an earthquake could shut the whole thing down in an instant. Ultimately, this whole dream of the Musandam Canal tells us something really important. Our entire global economy is built on the foundation of geography. For centuries, these natural narrow passageways, these straits and canals, have been the puppet masters, dictating the flow of trade and power. And trying to engineer our way around them is a monumental, if not impossible, task. So for now, the Strait of Hormuz is exactly what it's always been, one of the most vital and one of the most vulnerable corridors on Earth. And the story of this canal that was never built leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. Just how fragile is the system that keeps our entire world moving?